The presidential polling right now is all over the place, and it has been since 2024 presidential polling began about a year ago, because the media refuses to stop putting out these presidential polls even when we're a year or more out from a presidential election. And I understand that right now we're finally under a year, but let's be real, we've still got 11 and a half months until the presidential race, or till the presidential election, so yeah, maybe the media needs to cool their jets with all these polls. And that brings me to another viewer question here. This is from YouTube user William Steffens, who asks, with how inaccurate polls have been for even current elections, such as with the Democrats beating Republicans in red states where they shouldn't have, why is there such a push to put out presidential polling so early when all I hear is that they are worthless of actual predictions of whom will win? Love your thoughts on how to stop such worthless polls, or what, if anything, can be done to make them accurate or useful in any way possible. There's really no way to make polling more accurate today. They're still using the archaic methods of mostly doing landlines. Online polls are highly, highly ineffective. Most of them allow people to simply refresh the page and vote again. Twitter polls, obviously not scientific. It's going to go out to a predominantly left or a predominantly right audience, depending on who retweets it. Most people in the younger generation, if they get a call they don't recognize on their cell phone, from a pollster, they're not going to answer that. So you end up oversampling certain portions of the population who typically have a certain political bent, and that is why the polls have been so inaccurate in recent years. Now, having said that, why does the media do this? Why are they still putting out these polls nonstop? Why have they been doing it for over a year? Because it's good for ratings. It's great for ratings for the media. And that's why the media is usually the ones putting out these polls. The New York Times poll, the Washington Post poll, a CNN poll, a Yahoo News poll, a Politico poll, a poll for The Hill and Morning Consult. It's media outlets that are pushing these polls because they know they can stick it in a headline and say, oh my God, Trump's beaten Biden in 5 or 6 swing states. Click, 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 click. Everybody's going to want to look at that. The media needs a horse race. The media needs the tension. Because, and I've explained this over at Fair and Balanced as well, if it's just a runaway election and we already know who's going to win, people aren't going to care. They're not going to turn on the news and see what's happening in the latest polling and be like, whatever. CNN's not going to get their eyeballs. Fox and MSNBC don't get their eyeballs. New York Times and The Hill and Washington Post, they don't get their clicks. So they have to put out these polls, even though they are wildly inaccurate, because it draws in eyeballs, and eyeballs, therefore, draw in the advertisers. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.